Neto here, and we are going to discuss today a little bit more about the brain. So, at this point in our unit, we've really gone over the anatomy of the brain and we've kind of diced it up using the cauliflower and really have started to look at the function of each section of the brain. But really, what I want to go into now is how the brain really affects the rest of the body. So, some fun facts about the brain. One, the human brain is the fattest organ in the body and consists of at least 60% of the fat. And we'll kind of learn about why the brain needs fat later on as we kind of look at the cell structures of the cells that make up the brain. But this is really important for babies to eat a lot of fat during these younger years, which is primarily why you see breast milk has so much fat in it. And when they're toddlers, a lot of parents believe that giving their babies whole milk, that's kind of the theory behind that, is to kind of fatten up and make their brain stronger. Neurons, which we'll kind of go into in a little bit, develop at a rate of 250,000 neurons per minute during early pregnancies, meaning that during the pregnancy, this is when our brain is being developed, and that's a lot of cells. So neurons are the cells of the brain, and so they're being developed really quickly at this young age. Humans continue to make new neurons throughout their life in response to mental activity. So the more you think, the more you listen to Neto and Tucker, the more neurons you're going to create, FYI. And I love this one. Children who learn 2 languages before the age of 5 actually alter their brain structure, and adults have a much denser gray matter. So I've actually looked at MRIs of how the brain has developed for children who are bilingual, and it is crazy intense. Hopefully we have time to kind of look at those later on in this unit. And then while you're awake, your brain generates between 10 to 23 watts of power, or enough to energize a light bulb. So really, that whole idea that a light bulb, an idea going off is the light bulb over your head, kind of has a whole nother meaning to it, right? Fun facts continued. And trust me, there's a billion out there, but I just chose a couple. Excess stress has shown to alter brain cells, brain structure, and brain function. I think this is a really important fun fact, especially going on with our unit right now. Another fact is insulin works to regulate blood sugar in the body, but recently scientists have discovered that its presence in the brain also promotes memory. So that's something fun to know. We've already talked about insulin a lot in our last unit. So looking at how this actually affects memory and our brain, I think it's really nice to know that these how the body kind of is working all together. The word brain appears 66 times in the plays of William Shakespeare. Not necessarily related to science, but fun because we are going over Shakespeare and there is a relevance in that. And then Mr. Einstein, one of my faves, his brain was actually smaller in size to other humans, except the region that is responsible for math and spatial perception. In that region, his brain was actually 35% wider than average. And so thinking about the brain, and like especially since you guys were using cauliflower, how different regions of the brains are more developed, or if they're underdeveloped, that really actually will enhance what your strengths and weaknesses are as a learner, as an athlete, and all that. So I think that's really interesting to know. That even Einstein, even though his brain was smaller, other areas were extra large. So kind of going back to a quick system of order review, by the way, make sure that you're never going to forget that, because I think it really helps us organize our thoughts. But all humans are made up of organ systems. And then all organ systems are made up of organs. In this unit, we're really particularly focusing on the nervous system. So that's the organ system that we're looking at right now. And the organs that are made up in the nervous system are the brain and the spinal cord, and so those are the two areas of the organs of the nervous system that make up the nervous system. However, in this unit in particular, we're focusing just on the brain, and that's our organ, the brain. All organs are then made up of tissue. So in this unit, we are looking at nervous tissue, which you'll find in the brain, the spinal cords, and nerves. So it's a special type of tissue. And all tissues are then made up of cells. And you guys got to become very familiar with looking at cells under the microscope throughout your Iron Chef lab. At least a lot of the groups did. And then, again, all cells are then made up of organelles. So all organelles have a nucleus, and most of them have, they have the cytoplasm, the mitochondria. Depending on where those cells are located, they may have more organelles or more specific organelles depending on the structure and function. All those organelles then are made up of molecules. So looking at even smaller, this is a nice sugar molecule right here, which you guys should be kind of familiar with because we talked about sugar in deep extent last unit. And then all molecules are made up of atoms or elements, which again is anything you see on the periodic table. Those are the single elements, kind of the Lego blocks. So kind of looking at how a human is broken down into everything on the elements. And of course, that's where you go into chemistry, and then we can go into even further in breaking things down. Another little quick review, structure equals function. In other words, you wouldn't expect a giraffe to be able to swim, and you wouldn't be able to see a dolphin eat leaves off the top of the tree. The structure of the giraffe really is specific to the function that the giraffe has, and vice versa with the dolphin. So looking at that,